right, another Jodi day.
Yeah,
Another Jodi day.
it's Jodi Day. It's Tuesday and it's Jodi Day.
That's right. That's right. Hello, everybody in the chat. We have Atheist Ant. Whoop, there we go.
Mm.
Totally Pit, by the way, was the first to chat. So welcome. First is always the worst. Second is the best. We got Corn Pope. Gigi is in the chat. Is it Rob Mill? Rob Mill? I don't know how to pronounce your name, but welcome. Pixie's going to hang out with us for a bit, even though it's 2 a.m. where she is. Glad you're here with us. 2 a.m. Is that Australia? She's got to be Australia, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Australia.
And the White Rabbit is listening while she works, so we have to make sure that we read all the comments and
Flux!
then answer
Flux! Hi, Flux.
them. So legal vices must be done since Flux is here, because Flux wouldn't be here otherwise. But welcome, Flux. Welcome. Yes, we have Jodi Day. And to catch everybody up, last week, or Saturday rather, was day 12. We finished up day 12. Jodi took the stand on day 12. We had a lot of her commentary about her childhood and abuse from her father and her mother, apparently, and all that good stuff. You start at 12. It's 12. Yes, that's right. But before we get into that, a little housekeeping, I guess. As if you guys are new and you're unaware, Nick and I, we dual stream. At the top of our chats is a link to the others. So you can, if you're watching on my stream, you can go ahead and give a thumbs up. And if you're watching on Nick's stream, you can hit the link, jump over to mine, and give a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And right now I have 15 to your 13, so I'm happy with those numbers. But if we can keep me in the positive, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I need to catch up to David because his live stream of his trial a couple of weeks ago got him amazing numbers. Now I did good numbers, but he's pulling away. So you all need to help.
And then you will be, though, regardless of whatever stream that you're watching, you will be redirected to Nicholas's stream after this, immediately after this, on the Kansas. What are you calling it?
Yeah. The corruption in Kansas story. It is Marion County Record, a small local newspaper who had been around since 1869, and they were about to pop the lid on an interesting story, and they got raided by the entire police force of 5 through a search warrant that probably, since it's a First Amendment violation of that we haven't seen in decades in the United States or in Western Europe as well. This just doesn't happen. It's a foundation. The free press is a foundation in every Western democracy.
Yeah, when the police are raiding the offices of a newspaper in order to shut down the story of somebody who is closely connected, apparently, with local politics and maybe even national politics, that's a problem. But I watched your first story on that. That was very interesting and troubling at the same time.
Yeah. So that will be directly after this stream. Maybe a 5-minute break because I got in from the fields for about half an hour ago. So I just managed to put everything up and brew myself a cup of coffee because I believe this has never, on the cancer story, this has never been more appropriate.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. And for all of those who were expecting a part 2 of MLS Goes to Court, sorry, I was indisposed this morning. I moved it to tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, I will be doing that. And then I do have some other streams lined up, but that's going to be the primary base since I was going to be covering Daryl Brooks until that got moved. So that's about it. But all of that aside, it is Jodi Day.
It is Jodi Day.
It is Jodi Day, the wonderful
Yeah.
Jodi. She's wearing a little blue T-shirt today, or I guess it's a polo shirt, but it looks a little odd on her compared to everything else that she's worn. And if I may say, is she getting a little chunkier in the middle in this image after spending a
Oh,
couple of years in prison?
she might be. She might be. Well, she does cover it up thanks to the upstairs shelf. But yeah.
So yeah,
Mm,
so she took the stand. We have 18 days of her on the stand.
mm,
This is day 2 of her on the stand. Actually, that's the
mm.
banner I'm going to put up. And yeah, so this is direct of Jodi Arias' second day on the stand. Yeah, I thought you had something to say.
No.
But anyway,
Dum,
so
dum,
so we'll get going.
dum.
Yes, right. And just so everybody knows, it's Tuesday, which is usually our shorter days. We'll probably go about 90 minutes or so. Saturdays at noon Eastern, 6 p.m. Swedish time are our longer days, and we will is based.
Okay.
Yeah.
YouTube keeps putting Melissa off this stream and onto my corruption and cancer stream on her phone. Okay. That the YouTube had for a couple of weeks, YouTube have been doing strange things,
Huh.
to say the least. Chat has not always been, you need to update it and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know why. Hey, MG Law is here.
Looking a little less fatale. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's kind of needed. You don't really want to go up there in, I don't know, American Ninja Warriors outfits when you're
wait.
trying to get acquitted for murder.
Now my StreamYard's not working. It's not letting me show. There we go. Okay, I was trying to get MG Law up. Oh, something's going on with StreamYard and YouTube and all that
Yeah.
fun stuff. So, all right, this should be fun.
Yep.
All right, shall we begin
Mm.
with
Yeah.
day 14?
Please be seated. The record will show the presence of the jury, the defendant, and counsel.
This is regular speed,
Ms.
right?
Arias, you are still under oath. Do you understand?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Yep. Okay.
May
Regular
continue.
speed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Just looked a little weird.
Good morning, Ms. Harris.
Good morning.
Yesterday, when we finished, we were at a point in your life when you were about ready to move in with Matt McCartney. Do you recall?
Yes.
Where we left off. Okay. And yesterday, I'd ask you if at this point in time you were boyfriend and girlfriend. And it seemed like you didn't have a definitive answer for that. Is that a label you two didn't use, or?
I don't recall when we made things official, but he wasn't seeing anyone else, and neither was I.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I don't recall when we made it official, our relationship. I mean,
Okay.
it definitely became that way, but I don't remember the exact date or time or circumstance, but
Okay.
we weren't seeing anybody else, just each other.
Okay. So when you moved in together, it was with the idea that this was a monogamous relationship.
Yes.
And you were working, I believe you told us you got a job at Applebee's, right?
Yes.
Okay. And was Matt working?
Yes, he was a manager at Subway.
Okay. Tell us what life was
I
like.
don't think
and
I
how
knew
was
she
the
worked at
relationship?
Applebee's.
How
Maybe
you
I did.
communicate?
I see that period of my life as probably one of the best times in my life. He treated me very well. He was very kind. He was very respectful. He was very spiritual. When I first met him, I was a little bit leery of some of the things he was into. I saw some books on witchcraft, and I thought, but he explained to me that he was just seeking, that he had gone to church most of his life, and he and his family are very much into the Native American culture, and so he asked his pastor about the Native Americans, and he was told they went to hell because they didn't know Jesus Christ. So that turned him off to Christianity, and he decided to explore other religions. So about the time that I met him, he was not practicing Wicca, but he was studying it, and so he had kind of explained it a little bit to me so that I wasn't so I guess, frightened or suspicious or superstitious, maybe, of the religion. And so I never practiced it myself, but I think he did prior to us getting together. And by the time I met him, he was sort of moving on to other, like studying Eastern philosophy and Hinduism and Buddhism and that kind of thing too. So,
Okay.
I mean, our relationship took a lot of different spiritual turns and twists.
This might be a good point to back up a little bit in terms of, because you mentioned, and I'll use the word spirituality or religious beliefs. At the time that you met Matt, where were you spiritually? Was there a particular religion you were a member of? Could you describe that for us?
Religion and sex is her whole thing. Her whole thing. Jealousy, religion, and sex. I should add the jealousy part of it. That's her. Her whole world revolves around those three things.
Yeah.
I was not a member of any denomination. I considered myself Christian. I didn't attend church, and I didn't obey all the commandments that Christianity espouses.
Okay. So when you talked about Matt and the spirituality, did you become more affiliated with his beliefs, or tell us about that?
We sort of explored together and opened up to other beliefs. We began taking meditation seminars, kind of new age type seminars, but they have their
Meditation.
roots in Hinduism or Buddhism.
I'm
Maybe
already
kind of like
on a yellow warning on ad suitability. Every time.
Are you
Every
really?
time. Yeah.
I gotta look. I gotta see where I'm at.
modern version of
Mm.
transcendentalism. things like
Every
that.
stream
We
I
just
do.
took these
Within
little courses and
minutes.
classes, and we would drive to Portland or the Bay Area.
Okay. Was that a big part of your relationship with Matt?
Yes, it was.
This may go without saying because
Really? I'm still on green. I'm good.
you lived together, but was this also a sexual relationship?
Yes.
So Jodi was not Mormon. Travis was, and she's talking about her prior relationships, and she was non-denominational Christian or whatever. It wasn't until Travis, the victim, that she converted to Mormonism. So he was born and raised Mormon, but she wasn't. She converted.
Did you love Matt?
Very much. Yeah, I was in love with him.
And this apartment, did you both contribute to the finances of the apartment?
Yes, all of the living expenses were split 50-50.
Yeah, there are a few holes in the story.
And how long did you and Matt live in this apartment?
We lived in that small apartment for
expo.
about 5 months, and then we moved
Don't do
to
that.
Crater Lake, Oregon.
Okay. And why did you move to Crater Lake?
The seasonal work there is in the summer. It's a very high elevation, so the snow stays till about July and comes back in October. So it's a quick season. It's a busy season. So they have staff housing there at the resort, and we got a dorm and stayed there for the season and worked there.
Did you and Matt live together when you were in this
Yes.
dorm, as you describe it? Okay.
Yes.
Welcome to Reed.
This point in time, then you're probably several months into your relationship, right?
Yes. At this point, 6 months, I'd say.
I know that probably it's hard to quantify, but was this a serious relationship at this point in time?
Yes, we weren't like heavily discussing marriage, but we were talking about children and what kind of lifestyle we would have if we decided to have a family.
So was marriage on the table, so to speak?
Yeah, it was a future possibility.
This is the one she left to go be with
How
Travis.
long in total, in terms of your relationship, were you together with Matt?
I think approximately 1 year and 8 months.
In that year and 8 months,
Yeah,
did he
you
ever-
can have a lockdown for that.
Did he ever call you a whore,
No,
a slut,
no,
three-hole wonder?
no.
There's the name of the show.
Okay, Old Line Red
What
also
brought-
have that issue. with
Uh,
getting kicked out to send to my future stream. That is really weird.
yeah, that's really weird. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe refresh the whole thing. Like if you're watching on your
Yes.
phone, shut down the app and refresh it. I don't know. I know I was having issues with some apps or some streams yesterday and today, and I just had to refresh the whole thing. I think it was even Nicholas's stream. I had to refresh the whole thing.
Yeah, and I only watch YouTube on a web browser, not on app, because app always forks things up for me.
Yeah. Jenny B, yes, he did say three-hole wonder. That is the nickname that Travis gave to the lovely Jodi Arias and has been rolling around in my chat for a while. In fact, if you are a member of my chat, you get access to some fun little or emojis, and one of them is the three-hole wonder. So enjoy that. It's Jodi.
The end of your relationship with Matt McCartney.
Well, after the first season at Crater Lake, we came back, and ironically, the same exact apartment opened up again. So we rented the same place where we lived prior to that. We stayed there for some months, and we began to sort of argue over little things. It wasn't anything serious, but it wore on our relationship because it just made things not so enjoyable. So we decided to take a breather from each other. Well, not from each other, but just from our living together. So he went back to Crater Lake for a season, and this time I did not go. I moved to Ashland, which is about 15 minutes south of Medford. It's in Oregon also.
And let me ask you before you go any further, these
Hey, Josie.
arguments that you
Hi,
spoke
Josie.
to, have little arguments or things would get uncomfortable. Describe what you mean by little arguments, because that can mean a lot of different things to different people. Was there screaming? Was there throwing things?
No, nothing like that. It was more like nagging. Like he would leave his clothes everywhere, and I would be like, and what else? Sometimes I would leave a dish somewhere in the living room if we were eating, and so it was kind of like more about housekeeping and that sort of thing. Just living together and those
But
dynamics.
the fights themselves didn't get volatile, from what you're telling us, right?
They weren't.
Okay. Now you're talking about this period in time. You're starting to have some discord in your relationship. Tell us how that discord leads to the end of the relationship.
Well, we decided to spend a little time apart. We saw each other on our weekends. He would come into town in Ashland and stay with me. And I remember I was with his dad's girlfriend, and she was trying to, I had felt sort of like we were distancing, but I was hanging out with, I can't remember her name, but his dad's girlfriend at the time. And we were trying to download pictures onto his dad's hard drive. And on the desktop, there were some other pictures of this girl. And I didn't recognize her, but I recognized the setting, and it was inside the lodge at Crater Lake. And so the date was also current with this season, which would have been 2001. But it was just labeled with, I guess, an initial, the letter B. So I didn't know who she was, but I wasn't overly concerned about it. But, I just kind of had a feeling. And so I let that go. And a few weeks later, I was working at Applebee's. And I was walking past the table, and two people said, "Hi, Jodi." And I stopped, and I didn't recognize them. And they explained that they worked with Matt at Crater Lake, and they were just in town for their days off. And I just said hi and, checked on them later as they were about to leave. And they said, "We took a vote and think you should know something." And they told me that he was seeing a girl named Bianca at Crater Lake. And so that explained the initial B on that photo. And I kind of said, "Well, does she have dark hair?" And he said, "Yes." And so I figured it was her.
Let me ask you this.
So 3 people from his church, right? His church or whatever, that don't know Jodi, have never met Jodi, are going to Jodi's restaurant to tell her that Matt is cheating on her. That doesn't make
Travis.
any sense.
No.
No, Matt. This is Matt.
Matt. Okay.
Yeah, this is Matt. Yeah. So Matt is apparently cheating on her And this is before she goes with Travis. I think this is before she meets Travis. But that doesn't make sense that someone who,
No.
this would be something that Jodi would do,
Yeah.
but this isn't something that normal people would do. And this is like the
No.
same, sort of situation with her prior boyfriend who was cheating on her. And she printed out all the emails and then went to him, like drove an hour and went to him and confronted him with the emails. This is how Jodi thinks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So classic projection.
I think
Accuse
so.
others of what you're doing yourself.
Yeah.
What did you do when you had this information?
I was reeling because, I mean, of all the boyfriends I had, I would have expected him to not be the one that
Of
cheated
all
on
the
me.
boyfriends you had.
He was very loyal. I trusted him
Phrasing.
completely, like implicitly. He could have said the sky is falling and I would have believed him. I think I would have just.
Yeah. So it's so weird how she always finds out about cheating in really weird ways. She happens upon an email. That was the prior boyfriend. She happens upon Matt's coworkers. That's this current situation. Yeah. It's just, it's all a little too convenient, right?
Mm.
She creates the drama. I agree, Pixie. She creates the drama because she likes the drama. And yes, we're always talking about putt-putt expert. That's what we're talking about. Christine, it was Saturday's stream. Go back to day 13, part 2, and you can see it. It's in the playlist. We both have I have a playlist anyways. Nicholas, you have a playlist too, right?
Yeah. All the Jodi's streams are on there's a separate playlist on my channel. So
just go to the playlist and they're right there.
Yeah, including the 18 plus materials. I have 3 of those because YouTube deemed a few of my streams as no, not suitable at all. So they are behind that. I have to click. I am 18. And one of those is.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah, you do have to click that you're 18 or older to watch some of them, especially day 6, part 2. But to answer the question here, Carissa, but what are the normal ways to find out about cheating? I don't know, but confronting somebody with emails, right? Finding emails and then confronting them with it is not, to me, normal. That's kind of creating the situation. And then I think this story is completely made up. I don't think she came across any coworkers of Matt's that obviously the coworkers don't know her, right? She's never said she met them before. So why are they all of a sudden going to talk to her about Matt? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And remember, Dave works in the field where some of these things might show up.
Yeah, family law.
Yeah, the family law and divorces and stuff like that. So Dave might have more information about these things than others.
Yeah, MG, you might be old enough to watch day 6, part 2. You might be old enough. You have to go check it out. Uh-oh. What happened?
Looked out the window to see what it looks like. But I asked my boss if I could go home a little early, and he said that was fine. So I think I was let go. It was slow. I was let go around 7.
And just so we're clear, you were living with Matt at the time?
No, he was living at Crater Lake, and I was living in Ashland.
Okay.
So I went home. I changed my clothes, and I decided to. At this time, though, this night, Matt was in Borrego Springs, California, looking for more.
How far was that from where you were?
Very far. It's almost by the border, and Ashland is up by the other California border, the northern border.
Okay. So did you call Matt?
No, neither of us had cell phones at that time.
Okay. So what did you do once you went home early and learned of this information?
Well, I decided that I wanted to find out if it was true. So it wasn't very late. It's about an 1.5-hour drive to Crater Lake. So after getting dressed, I drove up to Crater Lake to see if I could find out. I had friends that were still there, and the people that told me this I didn't know. So I wanted to find out from them. And I went, there were 2 dormitories there. So I went to the one that's closest to the lodge because that one was where people would hang out. And so I could find some people that I knew. And I ran into a guy, I think his name was Steve. And I
Generic
asked
name?
him,
Sustained.
I totally believe Steve exists.
Are any of the jurors having trouble hearing? Is anyone having trouble hearing? I understand that you reported to the bailiff earlier that you had difficulty yesterday. Anyone who cannot hear today? If at any time you cannot hear, please raise your hand and let me know immediately. You may continue.
Okay, Jodi, you were in the process of telling us you're going to Crater Lake to find out whether or not Matt was being unfaithful to you.
right, I didn't want to continue in the relationship if that was the case. If it wasn't the case, then of course I would, because I loved him.
Did you find out that information? Were you able to confirm it or
Yes.
dispel it? And how did you do that?
I knocked on Bianca's door, and Steve had run to warn her, so I could hear them talking, and he was very frantic. How do I say this? Well, he's gay, so he kind of is he exaggerates, he's very emotional, and he's very animated, and so it kind of made me chuckle.
Is that what it means to be gay?
And I could tell they were nervous. So she opened the door and I said, "Hi, are you Bianca?" And she said, "Yeah." So she invited me in because she knew who I was. And so we sat down. There were 2 beds in this dorm. She was staying with another relative. They were both from Romania and they were here for seasonal work. So she sat on her bed, I sat on the other bed, and we just talked for about an hour and a half. Maybe not quite that long, maybe an hour. And she just told me that she started.
Great success. Got interested all of a sudden.
Based on this conversation, were you able to?
The roommate of the woman that Matt, her boyfriend at the time prior to Travis, was cheating on her with is gay. Apparently, his name is Chris. It's Chris or Steve? I can't remember. Does it matter?
No.
It doesn't.
Confirm the idea that Matt McCartney and Bianca were having an affair.
Yes. Well, yes, they were together.
Okay. Now, in this,
You were on a
conversation, were you
break.
yelling at her.
No, it was just chit chat, actually. I mean, I was trying not to freak out or cry or get upset, because she had no idea. She was under the impression that he and I were no longer together, so that I didn't look at this as her fault.
How did it feel when you had this information confirmed?
I didn't really allow myself to have much emotion about it until I left her presence. And at that point, I allowed myself to cry.
I don't have
And where were you at this point?
emotions.
Had you gone back home or this like out in the parking lot?
Well, at this point, it was really late, so I ended up crashing in my friend Eddie's dorm, and he was kind of a family friend. His family is from Wairika. He's friends with Matt. He's friends with me. His father also owned a local restaurant, so we all knew each other. So Eddie said, "You can sleep here," and there were 2 beds in that dorm, and so I crashed there until about sunrise, and then I got up and drove back to Medford.
And at this point in time, when you're driving back to Medford, have you talked to Matt?
No.
When
So
you
she
go
doesn't
back to
want to
Medford, what do you do?
That's a good question. Sorry.
Everybody's abusing her. It's so sad. Cry for me, Argentina. No. Nah, I don't know.
So the question is why is this relevant? Or this is relevant because I think what they're trying to establish, their defense is that Travis went after her and she had to defend herself. So she's a meek, little polite woman that did nothing wrong to anybody, and he is an abusive person. So I don't know why this particular story is relevant, other than maybe she was cheated on in the past. But again, I feel like it would be, this is the second boyfriend, by the way, that's cheated on her, right? In a row.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this particular
Yeah.
story is relevant.
Yeah, but they are trying to. Now, I'm not here to shame anybody because everybody has a past and everything, but she did say out loud, all of my boyfriends. That's a phrasing you really don't want to use if you're trying to picture yourself as chastity incarnate.
Yeah. But Salvador has a good point because she didn't unalive anyone else, right? Her prior boyfriends all cheated on her and she didn't unalive them. So that's her
Yeah,
proof that she didn't unalive Travis.
yeah. But most murderers only alive one. So that's true to more or less every other murderer out there. They only
Well,
unalive one.
so Cindy, if you believe Jody's timeline, she was first cheated on and then she went and saw another man. So her first boyfriend, I can't remember his name. He cheated on her
Bobby,
and
Bobby,
Bobby, yeah.
or something.
And she was the relationship was essentially at an end when she met Matt, right? And so she's with
Yep.
Matt. He cheated on her. It's essentially at an end, although they're still living together when she meets Travis, right? So in her mind, she's justifying it, I think. So she doesn't cheat on anybody. The relationship essentially is done. Anyways, it's really annoying. Her whole demeanor and story is annoying.
I don't remember the sequence of order, but I also confronted Matt and he confirmed it. And at
She
that
likes to
point,
be
he was
friendly with
honest
boys,
about it.
leading them.
Well, let me ask you this, you said this
Lending them her
confrontation,
3
was Matt
orifices.
back in Medford when you got there?
He came back, but I don't remember if he was there the day that I got back from Crater Lake or if he came the next day or whenever.
And what do you mean by confrontation?
I went over to his dad's house.
Okay.
At that, I
Interesting.
knew
I'm
it
gonna
the
check
day he
that
was
out.
getting back.
Taking the
and
stand.
He was on the phone with Bianca when I came over and he's hung up and he said, I know what you want to talk about. And so we left the house and went to my car so that his dad wasn't privy to the information because I think Matt was very embarrassed about it. So we just talked about it and basically our relationship was over and it was kind of sad.
Okay. And when was this again, time-wise?
This would have been September. It was right before September 11th, so it was in 2001. I just remember that.
And was this a heated confrontation or just a
No, it wasn't
demoralizing?
heated. It was just emotional. We were both crying.
And this time in September of 2001, was that the last time you saw Matt McCartney?
No.
Tell us
It will
what
be
happened
really interesting
after,
to see the
you
cross-examination
guys, I guess,
later
broke
on,
up in
because
September 2001. What
this is
happened
the
in your
thing when you make stuff up, you have
I
to
wanted to leave
remember
the area
everything.
because Matt and I had a lot of experiences.
The expert's going back.
Mostly all good in that.
He's going back to day 6, part 2. He's
Yeah, okay, he will be out for a few minutes. And a word of advice, don't have a roast beef sandwich in your hand while watching.
right.
Whole Southern Oregon area, all those towns, Crater Lake, that entire area. So it was just every corner that I drove and turned, it was sentimental. So I wanted to leave. So there was a martial arts instructor that I knew, Matt and I knew, and he said that his
Sustained.
Without telling us anybody what said, what steps did you take in your life next?
he referred me to another place of employment in Big Sur, California.
And where was that?
Big Sur, California is also in Monterey County, like Salinas. I'd never been there all the years I lived in Salinas. It's south of Carmel, about 28 miles.
And was there a particular resort?
Yes.
What was that?
The resort is called, or it was called, I think it's still called Ventana Inn and Spa.
Now, was that the resort where you met Daryl Brewer?
Yes.
You applied for a job and were interviewed by Daryl Brewer, is that right?
Yes. I
Okay.
was.
tell us about that period in your life, what you were doing, how you were living.
Well, I drove down there and interviewed with Daryl.
Possibly
It was in the
greedy
afternoon.
bloke.
I was a little apprehensive about moving all the way out there. There was no place to live. There was staff housing at that resort as well, but nothing was open or available at that time. I was told that when there is an overflow of employees, they are allowed to use the campground if there are open lots, because this was in October now. I think my interview was actually on October 20th because I remember it was Matt's birthday. So during that time, that's a slow season in Big Sur, where things are slowing down. So the campground was mostly all open. So I was thinking of trading in my car to get a trailer, but I wasn't really in a financial position to do that. So when Daryl hired me, I kind of scrambled around and went to an outdoor supply store and bought some equipment. And when Matt heard about what I was doing, he was also looking for work. The position he sought at Borrego Springs didn't pan out, and so he came down to Big Sur and also applied at Ventana.
Okay, so let me understand this as it relates to Matt McCartney. You said that the breakup conversation wasn't the last time you talked. It sounds to me like you maintained a relationship with him after you broke up. Is that correct?
Yes, there was a period after we broke up when we didn't talk for about a week, and then maybe a couple more. We would say hi briefly on the phone and then not talk again, because it was just, our feelings were tender and it was just kind of a sticky situation. He was really
Tender
ashamed of
and
his behavior.
sticky are not good words
I
with
think his mother had shamed him a
Freehold
little.
Wonder.
Tender and sticky.
But eventually we began to talk again, if that makes sense.
Okay. And when he, just so we're clear too, you talked about him, or I guess he was going to live with you in this tent, right?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And
They were gonna
just so
live in
we're
a
clear, was this the rekindling of the romance, so to speak?
Not really. I mean, there were blurred boundaries because we were familiar with each other, comfortable with each other. We weren't actively trying to rekindle a relationship, but there was still a lot of sentimentality.
Were you still sexual with him at this point in time?
One time.
Always
We
got to
had
ask
sex
about
one
the
time
sex.
After we broke up.
Okay. After that, then it was merely platonic.
I considered it platonic. I still had some feelings for him, but we were not really together and we were just friends at that point. I got actually 2 weeks after living in the tent, I secured employee housing, and I think he stayed in the tent for some time and then he got employee housing also.
Okay. Now, what was your job at this resort? What did Mr. Brewer?
No, he's standing at the
actually hire
lectern.
you to do?
Initially, I started as just a server in the restaurant. There's a restaurant at Ventana.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree,
And
Malcolm. She is annoying and
Describe
the worst
this restaurant
storyteller.
for us. I mean, is this a Denny
Yeah,
equivalent of
it's
Denny's,
that
or
monotone
just?
voice.
No,
She
it's,
answers
considered-
everything with emotion, with the same emotion. She's describing everyday things with the same emotion as she described on Saturday's stream. On
Yeah.
yesterday's streams about being abused by her father. Same tone.
Yeah, it's really annoying. I never watched this trial when it was live. I've heard about it, but I thought it was going to be more dramatic, more Amber Heard style, right? More fake emotion rather than no emotion. This is no emotion whatsoever. She's talking about being abused by her parents, like you said, Nicholas, and no emotion. She's talking about being cheated on. It was so devastating. No emotion.
Yeah. Now, in some cases with victims of abuse, that is a coping mechanism, but not to this extent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a
And,
behavioral analyst or anything. I just find it annoying. I'm not saying it takes away from her testimony. It's just kind of annoying. Yeah. Yeah, I thought her testimony would be a little bit. She's so boring. Yeah, she is very boring right now. We do get some. We do get some cross, which I guess is really interesting. We get some jury questions, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
And they haven't
according
really
to what,
gotten to the Travis part yet, right? This is just her past.
yeah,
So,
and I've seen in the chat on occasions that there were close to, yeah, I don't know if that number is correct, but 200 jury questions.
yeah.
That, yeah,
I hope she starts fake crying soon. Josie says, "Yeah, I want her
They're
to start fake
classified
crying."
as fine dining. It was once rated 4 stars by Mobile Resorts. It had been featured in Condé Nast Traveler and all kinds of different publications. It had a lot of
that's a
accolades.
weird detail
and,
to. That's an Amber Heard thing. Weird details.
Yeah,
Why was that necessary? Oh, it was a 4-star according to this and this. Absolutely not necessary.
nope, not relevant.
Hmm.
Yeah, the fact that it's a 4-star, not relevant. I mean, I guess unless she's trying to say like it was a really expensive place, and that for some reason has relevance, but nah.
kind
Yeah,
of a
but
resort
4
where
stars on TripAdvisor is not really that good.
Steve Rogers believes that Jodi is kind of cute. Salvador, you might have some competition here with Steve.
Yeah. Now she is good looking, but yeah, she got the hand motion in. It's the tools she's using that is a bit discouraging.
Yes.
We,
We
yeah,
call
yeah.
a hit and run, fellas. You hit it and run. You don't stick around.
profile celebrities and things would go to just to be private and get away from things. So our guests were treated discreetly and,
Okay. Well, as far as jobs go, was this you talked about you had a career waiting tables at Denny's and
That's why you
Purple Plum
run,
and all these
Cindy.
places.
You don't stick
Was
around.
this one of the better paying jobs you've had?
as far as, well, most servers work for the tips, so as far as that goes, it was better paying. There was also a bigger tip out though. So when you have a position like that, it's not just you taking orders and delivering food. You have
Tell
a lot
me
of
more
help
about your
and different
positions,
people
Jodi.
that make the restaurant run smoothly, and so you have a lot of
Jamie,
different people,
Nick
such
said
as the
that.
bartender, the hostess, the busser that you tip out. So even though the tip pool was huge at the end, after the tip out, I was still walking away with more than at Applebee's. So it was nicer.
Okay. And how long did you remain a server with Ventana?
I think I was there 3.5 years.
Yeah, I think, yes, you're right, Daniel. Liars tend to add extra details to make it sound less like a lie. But the problem is that the good ones will add the right amount of details and the right details. The fact that it's a 4-star restaurant or whatever, that restaurant hotel is not it's not an important detail, right? I don't know.
Was that your only position within the resort?
No, the following summer in 2002, the wedding coordinator, her name was Arlene Murillo, she was having stomach pains that she had been ignoring for several months. And she finally went to the doctor and found out she had pancreatic cancer, and she passed away within a month. So I filled her position temporarily until they could find a more permanent replacement for wedding coordinator.
And you were acting as wedding coordinator, is that
Yes.
right? Okay. And what did that involve?
It involved working with the brides and grooms and how they wanted their reception and their ceremonies set up. There are a few wedding sites at Ventana, and just, negotiating the cost with them and returning phone calls, emails, sending out wedding packages for inquiries.
And were you, at this point in time when you were wedding coordinator, were you in a relationship with Daryl Brewer?
No.
Tell us, you talked about October 2001, you go to Ventana, you're hired by Mr. Brewer. Tell us about how that relationship evolved.
During that summer, well, in May, right prior to the summer, the restaurant, it was called Cielo at the time, it closed for remodeling. And so we moved the entire restaurant operation over to the inn. And I helped out with that, and Daryl was heavily involved with that. So we were working closely together, and then also with the wedding coordinating position. We worked more closely together. So I began to sort of develop a crush on him, but he was my boss, so I didn't ever let that on. And then at one point, he pulled me aside and said, I'm going to resign from my position tonight at, I think it was called the briefing. I think it was some kind of meeting we had before the shift started. So he wanted to let me know that, so it wasn't like a shock. I think he let a few other managers know ahead of time.
And how many months were you working with Mr. Brewer before, to your recollection, before he told you he was going to resign his position?
Well, I would have been working with him from the day I was hired, so about a year.
Okay. And but at that point in time, it was merely a working relationship? Was it a friendship?
I wouldn't even call it a friendship. We kept that separate. We never fraternized or anything like that. We just worked together.
Okay. So he's advising you that he is changing positions. Do you begin dating then, or just describe that for us?
No,
Are you
after
reading
he
into
stepped
the
down-
innuendos at that time?
She
Yes.
changed positions before and after they started dating.
Right?
Yeah.
Management position.
I keep hitting the
um,
wrong button. Oh, see, now I'm messing it all up.
Hmm.
There we go.
No Rumble today. I didn't have the time to set it up. I will try to do that for next stream. This I will download this and upload it on Rumble.
I will probably do that with all of my outstanding videos, like the last 40 of them that I didn't actually post on Rumble or stream to Rumble, rather. I gotta start doing that. Okay.
he stepped into a
Let's
supervisory
go
role.
ready to
So
Rumble.
I still didn't, make any moves, or he didn't express anything, and I didn't express anything. But then he decided he was going to step out of that role too. And prior to actually doing that, we had a conversation where we sort of discovered our mutual interest in each other, but we still didn't do anything because he was still technically my supervisor. And about a week later, he stepped out of that position and we went on a date.
Did he leave his managerial
point in
position in order to date Jodi? What a mistake.
Time. How old are you in 2000, 2001 or two? I guess we're talking about 2002 now, right?
Yeah, I was 22.
Okay. And how old was Mr. Brewer?
He was 42.
How did you feel about dating someone that much your senior?
I wasn't so much concerned about dating him as I was concerned about how other people might view it. I found Daryl very attractive. He was tall, he was, handsome, beautiful eyes, that kind of thing. We were very compatible, our personalities. I don't know, I kind of saw him as like a George Clooney type, like he's older but attractive. And we had a lot of similar interests. So I think he was more concerned about the age gap than I was, because he was also concerned about how people might view him for dating somebody so young.
When you began dating him, did you know of did you know he had a son?
Yes, I had seen him a few times at the restaurant.
Okay. And did you know that he was divorced?
Yes.
And all those things were okay with you?
It wasn't how I envisioned it, but I guess you can't always control like where your heart's going to go. There were things I discovered about him after the fact that he kept very private that I didn't care for, but I already loved him, so I accepted those things.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a murderer as
Before
well,
we start
right?
talking about those things, let's
He kept that private from her. That's what they have in common.
talk about the evolution of the relationship from that first date. You're still living in staff housing, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just kind of take us through the process.
They were together for
dates, how
10
the
years,
relationship
so
Yeah,
something was there.
something was there. Do you think it was? I mean, can
Money.
you keep physical? Well, yeah, he had the money and she had the ass, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's essentially it.
She had big assets.
Yes, big assets.
Well, that's
And you can see all the assets if you become a member of my channel and join me over on Discord.
Yeah. Please, if you're completely new here and really enjoy our little banter, we do get more serious on other streams, on other trials sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Consider being a member. My channel is $3 a month, and for that you get members-only content on my channel and access to my Discord, which Jungmin, who I haven't seen today, has been doing a tremendous job the last couple of days, bringing some more order to my Discord, where you can continue discussing the cases and the trials I have on my channel.
Angst Kitten. How many more boyfriends before Travis? So Matt is the last boyfriend before Travis. Now Matt and her and Jodi lived together. They dated for like 10 years or quite a long time. He was obviously significantly older. She left him for Travis. Now I believe when at one point Travis and her broke up, there was a boyfriend somewhere in the middle there somewhere.
Yeah. Her first boyfriend in this trial was Bobby. But
yes.
I've been Googling a bit. There was a boyfriend before that. And then we heard about the boyfriend she had who cheated on her before Matt.
Yeah, that was Bobby.
Yeah.
And then Matt cheated on her, supposedly. She went and confronted whomever. Then her and Matt got back together.
Yeah.
They lived together. They
Yeah.
were together
But
for
if
like
you
10 years.
go back half an hour, she said that all her previous boyfriends. Now, that doesn't sound to me like 2 previous boyfriends.
Yeah. And she does have assets for days. I mean, she's got assets. She just didn't know how to properly use them without her crazy getting in the way. So, yeah. So, of the trial, anyway, so I think there's 3
4
that are testified to. 4?
Yeah.
The high school one, Bobby, Matt, and then Travis. So, okay, I guess that's 4.
Yeah.
Jumpman is working.
All her other boyfriends are still alive.
That's right. And she's been cheated on by all of them. If that's true, they probably had a reason.
sort of thing.
Okay. As soon as he stepped down from the supervisory position, we went to San Francisco and went to a 49er game. We're both 49er fanatics, being from that area. We just kind of toured the city a little, not like a whole bunch of touring, but we walked around Union Square, being in that business.
Daryl, not Matt.
Okay.
What do we,
Thank you.
You know other people that are in the business, so we got a great deal on a hotel room right near Union Square, and it was
Again,
a good trip.
completely unnecessary details.
We were and hang out on our days off while his son was there, so he got a little more used to me. He was very shy when he was younger. I think I came into his life when he was about 4, 3.5, 4.
Okay. Was Daryl living in staff housing as well?
Yes.
And you're working together at this time as well?
Yes, he actually became a server, so we're both kind of equal as far as our positions go.
Okay. Do you recall how big a staff there was, and at least among the waiters and waitresses there?
Off the top of my head, I'd say maybe 20 people. As far as just
Toila Carissa, her first boyfriend was into vampires and stuff.
Well.
Oh,
there
Bobby,
were
I think his name was.
maybe 7 other women, I think.
So this is the list that I was able to pull up. So we have going forward to backwards. So Matt and Bobby were both in 98. Then we have Daryl from 2001 to 2006. Then we have Travis from 2006 to 2007. Then we have Abe, that was the intervening one, 2016 to 2017. Then Brian in 2012, but I don't know who Brian and how he falls into that, because she was arrested in
Prison
2020.
boyfriend?
Maybe a prison boyfriend. I don't know. But anyway, so Abe was the intervening one, and then she went back to Travis for a hot minute.
Were you, at any point in time, in terms of Daryl's interaction with women where you were dating, did you get jealous? Did you get angry at him?
At him, no, I didn't.
His brother Daryl is the brother Daryl.
Now, you go on these dates, you're both living in staff housing. We heard about the home you bought together. When did you buy that home?
We bought the house in 2005. I think we closed in
Oh,
June.
see, while I was doing it, old Line Red got it up there.
Prior to buying that home, what happened we were talking about 2002, you're dating, you're both living in staff housing. Do you live together before you buy that house? Yourself and
No.
Daryl?
No, we had separate apartments. At that point, he had moved back to Monterey, and I had quit Ventana and moved to Monterey as well. And we were working in separate jobs, separate apartments.
Okay. And this was in Monterey?
Yes.
Okay. And you were still would there be a point in time when you say that you and Mr. Brewer were in a monogamous relationship, whatever we call boyfriend-girlfriend, was there a point in time when that occurred?
Yes, I don't remember the exact point in time, but we were either in San Francisco on at one of the games, or I can't remember. We celebrated as soon as he was out of his supervisory role. We celebrated and decided to make things official around that time.
Okay. So is it just me, or is it really immature to be like, we were official? Like, is there a time when you would consider yourself boyfriend and girlfriend? You're like, yes, this specific date, and we were at this location, we were at the ball game. I don't know. That seems very high schooly, juvenile to me, right? Am I wrong?
And it is this addition of unnecessary details, which some claim. I'm not a behavioral analyst either, but I've heard it on other streams and stuff like that. Adding unnecessary details in order to make yourself more credible.
Yeah, it comes down to the credibility. Definitely. I just find it so, see. I got believers in the chat too. Juvenile is what I was thinking as well. Yeah. So it just sounds so juvenile to me. And that kind of, I guess, maybe goes towards the credibility issue or the believability issue. How old was she at that time? So she's 28 at the time of the murders. She is 32 at the time of the trial. So right now, sitting on the stand, she's 32. And they're talking about this was in 2001. So she would have been 21, approximately. 2000.
Yeah.
She would have been 21, 22, something like that. So she would have been 22 then. Because she was born in 1980. So, yeah, it sounds a little junior high. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. She dislikes talking about herself in full detail, which is immature in my opinion. Yeah, probably. Yeah, they're dancing around the idea.
He was a little nervous about it. He didn't
MySpace
want to get
maturity.
married, so he made that very clear right off the bat.
Right off the bat, he told
Yeah.
you he didn't want to get married.
Yeah, he made his intentions very clear that he liked me and he was attracted to me and he was okay with being with me, but he said, I don't see myself getting married again.
How did that sit with you?
I was young at the time, so it didn't bother me. I figured I still have many years left and I enjoyed being with him, so that's what I did. I just enjoyed the time we had together.
And you said just a few moments ago, you said eventually you got to the point where you fell in love with Daryl.
Yes.
Is there a moment in time, or is there a point in time that you can describe for us where you knew that was the case?
I don't remember the case, the exact moment. I a gradual process. My crush just became more and more, and then I began to really
Her
love his
crush.
son, and we progressed in that regard.
I asked because you said you got to a certain
Do
point
you
where
like
you're in
me?
love with him, but there were
Check yes or
always
no.
these flaws or things that you had to overlook
Yes.
once you were in love with him.
Yes.
Could you describe for us what you mean by what you were overlooking, at least from your perspective?
I discovered after I had already developed some deep feelings for him that he was a smoker. He didn't advertise that. I never saw him smoking. So that was, the only thing it bummed me out about is that his health. I thought, okay, it's going to affect his health.
You were bummed
Fever,
about it.
Smell like smoke. I never knew it. So he had very good hygiene, but I was concerned about his health. And I also, he admitted to me one day that he was an alcoholic.
And those were the two big things that were troubling to you?
Yes, they were. I didn't see myself being with a smoker. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted. My grandparents were chain smokers for a long time, and I saw how it affected their health very negatively until they finally quit. And I didn't want that kind of lifestyle.
What about the alcoholism? Did that manifest itself during the relationship?
I didn't notice it until after he really talked about it. We would hang out, we would watch football during football season, and we would have dinner at his house. He was a very good cook. And I would notice after dinner, he would take some Stoli out of the fridge, or it was Smirnoff, I think, out of the freezer, and he would pour himself a drink, and okay, whatever, he's just relaxing. But as the hours would go on, I would go in the back of the kitchen to throw something away, and there was an entire empty 6-pack of Sierra Nevada. And so I didn't see him drink it, and he wasn't changing his behavior. He was the same, so I didn't assume anything really. But when he told me about it, one day he was very troubled over it and was trying to overcome it.
So despite these, you said, you were in love with him. Well, before you buy the house, you're both living in separate apartments in Monterey, right?
Yes.
And where are you working?
I was working at an Italian restaurant called Piatti, and also California Pizza Kitchen had opened a restaurant there at their mall. And so I helped open that restaurant, and I was tending bar there.
And to your recollection, where was Daryl working?
Where was he working?
Hey, Tia, Nina.
I don't know why. I can't remember. I think he was working in Pebble Beach at a resort in Pebble Beach.
Tell us about the thinking behind the two of you deciding to purchase a home together.
Well, I saw myself eventually becoming a real estate investor. That's what I sort of wanted to do career-wise. And obviously the housing market was taking off in 2005. So I wanted to buy a home and sit on it for a while. And I had good credit, but I didn't have quite the income required for that. So I began talking to Daryl about it, and he also really wanted to buy a home. The Monterey Peninsula was way out of our reach. At that time, like a dirt lot was going for $700,000. So there was no way we were able to purchase property in that area at the time. Also, I should probably mention he stopped drinking. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have considered that. So he's been sober since 2004. So we decided to talk about buying a house together, and his ex-wife was moving to La Quinta, California, which is in Riverside County, I think. And it's right near Palm Desert. So we began making plans to move to Sacramento since she was moving. We wanted to buy a home, but we wanted to stay nearer to Monterey and not come all the way down to the desert.
You said you wanted to become involved in the real estate market. Did you do anything besides just look at purchasing a home? Did you educate yourself? Anything of that nature?
Yes, I took real estate classes at Monterey Peninsula College just to become more familiarized with the process of real estate economics, and I don't remember all the other title of the class I took, but it involved real estate. So I took those at the same time I was taking more semesters of Spanish, and began studying it and just paying more attention to real estate market trends and looking at listings and things like that.
Okay. One of the things we spoke about earlier was, all throughout high school, that you had an interest in art.
What city?
Uh,
Sorry, I had to
They
take a
were
phone call. I don't know
so-
the question.
No, it's something about they were looking for houses and stuff like that, and something
Oh.
about Sacramento. But I'm starting to zone out when she's talking because it's so dull.
It is very dull. It is very
Yeah.
dull. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
she-
figure out if there's anything interesting in this, but we're going to watch it all.
Mm.
But right now it's dull. I'm hoping when we get to Travis, it's a little more
Sharp.
Sharp. Yeah, we'll see.
Photography, different mediums of art. Was that a business that you were interested in this time, or were you more focused on the real estate business?
It was a business that I saw myself developing.
Did it,
What was that?
purchasing
That
the
was weird.
home at this point in time?
Did it
Do you
jump
remember
back?
how much that home cost?
I believe it was 350,000.
And did you and Mr. Brewer have to put down a sizable down payment in order to buy that house?
I think, I can't remember who put money down, but it was one of those, I think it was 100% financed, interest only kind of thing.
Okay. What was your financial situation at that point in time when you were buying the house?
I was in a pretty solid financial position. I had a lot of money in the bank saved. Well, by a lot, I mean about 10 or 12,000. Which I think at that point in my life was the most I'd saved ever. And I had very good credit. Daryl had good credit. He had, I think, a Roth IRA or something that he was also, saving for retirement. So he was invested as well.
What does a Roth IRA have to do with buying a house? This is like her immaturity level. Well, he's got a Roth IRA, so he can afford a house.
When did you, if you can recall, when did you move into the home? When did you close on the house?
I believe it was June 2005 that we were actually going to move to Sacramento, and we were looking around the area there. So we made an offer on a house in Fair Oaks, which is a city right outside of Sacramento. And the owners accepted our offer. We checked out the house. We really liked it. And the day after our offer was accepted, the plan was we were going to take his son and keep him full-time, and he would visit his mother in La Quinta. And so the day after our offer was accepted, she decided that she wanted him to come live with her and continue the same custody agreement. So at that point, the Sacramento area wasn't feasible anymore for Daryl, and I wasn't able to buy a house without him. And of course, I wanted to be with him because we were still together. So
just so we're clear too, she is in this story. She is Daryl's ex-wife, right?
Yes.
Jack's mother.
Jack's mother.
Okay.
So I came over to his house the day after. We're just really high on the fact that we're going to get a house. We're excited. And he was just hanging up the phone, and he said, I don't remember what he said, but he was, sorry.
Well, Jodi, why don't we talk about
Why don't we get to the point?
the point in time when you make this offer in this house near Sacramento?
Why is this
You
relevant?
don't get that. Tell us how you wind up.
I don't know why the
in house that you
prosecution's not
wind up.
objecting.
Well, we decided that we needed to be.
They have
he needed
done
to
on a
be
few
nearer to
occasions,
his
but
son. So we checked out
this is
schools
trying to picture her
and
as girl next
real
door,
estate
couldn't
prices
hurt a
in
fly,
Quinta,
Christian.
which was more affordable.
It had to be
than this.
him.
Quinta's more a high-end
attacking
community
her.
with more expensive property.
Otherwise, that's because
in Palm
she was
Desert.
first never there, then it was ninjas, and then it was self-defense.
Right? Yeah, and if they can establish her as essentially a normal person, that might help. But she just doesn't come off as normal. She comes off as immature.
Yeah.
There's a very good school district, and there were neighborhoods that had houses within our price range that were in that school district. So we made an offer on a house that I had seen online that I really liked.
Could you imagine? Just imagine that. What Fedorovsky said. I imagine her looking as bored as she does now when stabbing him, catching him off guard since she's showing no emotion. Yeah, could you imagine that? She's just like almost half asleep. All right. Stabby, stabby, stabby. I think the Lifetime movie lied
So
to
when
me.
you say really like, was this just from a personal perspective or also from a business perspective?
I guess from the business perspective, because it was within our price range, and a personal perspective, because just judging from the picture of the house, it looked like a house that I could see myself living in. Of course, we needed to see it in person first, but
Okay. So when did you close and move into this house in Palm Desert?
we finally moved there in the summer
Of
2005.
And in terms of the situation, how big was this house?
The house was, I can't remember the square footage, somewhere around 1,400, maybe 1,500. It had 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, an open floor plan with the living room, dining area, and kitchen. It had a pool in the back, fruit trees, mature landscaping, palm trees, a front yard.
What was the living situation in terms of the bedrooms? Did you and Daryl share one? Describe that bit of it for us.
We had, well, I had my bed, he had his bed, so we moved them both in, and I kind of kept the master bedroom sort of as my own space, and he had another bedroom that he kind of, like when he came home from work, he would call it his cave time. He needed about 45 minutes to just decompress, and he kind of just vegged out in front of CNN or something like that. And then after that, we would just sort of hang out.
Did Jack have a bedroom?
The expert, he went over and watched day 6, part 2. Now he's hungry. Is it weird that during the business trial, I got really hungry? Is that weird? I don't know. I feel like that's what the expert is experiencing though right now. There was just, I wanted to comment too about how he's got to come home and like, don't talk to me. I'm going to sit down and relax. I don't want to hear from you for at least 45 minutes when he gets home from work. I don't know. It seems very telling.
As well?
Yes, Jack had the other bedroom.
And how often did Jack live with the two of you?
He came on the weekends, 2 to 3 days a week.
And from your perspective, do you feel like you had a good relationship with Jack?
Yeah, we grew closer after moving to Palm Desert. Yeah, I did. I had a good relationship. It wasn't like a motherly kind of role. It was more like, I guess, having grown up with younger siblings, Jack felt more like a little brother to me.
And your relationship with Daryl at this point in time in 2006, or 2005, excuse me, when you moved into this home, what was the status?
But this guy probably didn't. I mean, if he's coming home and he wants to spend 45 minutes not talking to her as soon as he gets home from work, it's probably not the best of relationships, right? So I will give her a little bit of credit for trying to maybe seek some companionship with someone else.
Yeah, I don't get that mentality. Stay away from me. I need to wind down. I mean,
I'm excited to
when
see
we-
my wife when I come home because I haven't seen her.
Yeah. And me and girlfriend, we started off living apart, and we keep living apart because we are both kind of reclusive, and our work schedules are mad. But I always enjoy time. I mean, this doesn't matter if I've done a 14, 15-hour workday. When I walk in the door and she's here, I'm happy. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. But that to me is a sign that that's probably not the healthiest relationship. Even if she had a life made for herself, she probably wasn't happy there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Imagine coming home to Jodi, right? Yeah, I'd probably
We
like,
were boyfriend
just
girlfriend.
give
We
me
were
some
in a
time.
committed monogamous relationship, not necessarily headed for marriage, but I was in love with him.
You say not necessarily headed for marriage, had Daryl's perspective, as you saw it, did that change from that initial advisement, I guess, that he gave you a couple years prior?
I was not under any impression that he had changed his mind about his position on marriage.
Okay. Want to take a
See,
break?
Schroeder, how
All
many
right,
of
ladies
your
and gentlemen, we
exes
will
are
take a
still
new
alive?
recess at this time. Please be back in the designated area at 1:25. Please remember the admonition. Have a nice lunch. You are excused.
Okay, so that's the afternoon break. But yeah, so see,
Yeah.
Souter, I always pronounce your name wrong, but I am wondering, are all of your exes still alive? That is the one question I have for you right now. Interesting. The so that's about all we're going to get to today, guys, because this is a shorter day. Nicholas has a stream starting shortly, and
In about 10 minutes, and yeah.
But I do want to show
didn't hear-
this.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I might actually watch some of this. So this is, what was it, Tia or Totally Pip? I can't remember who referenced this in the chat earlier, but this is the Amazon Prime TV show Taking the Stand, and the first episode is Jodi Arias. So I'm curious. I want to check this out, and then it's all about defendants who took the stand in their own defense. So this is going to be interesting. Actually,
yeah. Good to know about historical trials when we keep. Well, this trial will go on well into next year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, but that could be interesting to choose from if any of these trials are interesting and a bit shorter.
Yes, yes, definitely. But no, it's just interesting. I wanted to pull it up. It does it is a thing. Taking the Stand is what it is on Amazon Prime. So I'm going to check it out for sure. And I am definitely going to watch episode 1, season 1, because that's Jodi Arias. So I just wanted to share it all with you. And Fedorovsky, yes, Baker is also streaming. And Nicholas is streaming, and everyone's streaming.
Yeah, yeah. My stream will be maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
And then
it's update on, and then I will redirect you all to Baker.
Yes.
So yeah,
that's what I thought.
You will be ping pong balls today between streamers.
There you go. Let's see. I've had a relationship. It's funny because every time Dirk talks about being a man, I always look at the avatar and I think, "Oh yeah, I forgot he's a guy."
Yeah.
Would not be surprised if a couple have overdosed at some point. Okay. Well, anyways.
And when you reach my age, natural causes are a thing. It's not because of me that girls who I met in my teens might be dying off. That's life.
So
and never rekindle with a high school sweetheart after 50s. It's not a good strategy.
No, it's definitely, people don't look the same. They don't act the same. They're not the same person that they were in high school. So, Kayla, to answer your question, so it says hosted by Dan Abrams, Taking the Stand tells the story of a crime from the unique lens of the accused as they take the witness stand. So I don't know how it's made up. I don't know if it's just playing the testimony. I imagine it's kind of a docudrama kind of thing, but I don't know. I've never watched it, so we're going to check it out. Yeah, so Nick is going to talk about his Kansas stream. He said it's going to take about 45 minutes, and then from there, you guys can be redirected to Baker. Let's see. Oh, you beat me by 1 thumbs up, by 1 like this stream.
Wow.
You know, in order for the game to appear fair, you have to win every once in a while. So I'm good with that. All right. Well, cheers. Cheers to Nick winning today in the thumbs up war. I have I have nothing else. I have nothing else to
No.
add for today, except I hope her testimony gets a little more interesting. It's a little dull. I find the facts interesting, but it's hard to focus just because of the monotone.
Yeah. The way she talks is not interesting, but the things she says is kind of interesting. The way she adds completely unnecessary details.
Yeah. It's very,
Mm.
very much of a Letitia Stout, Sarah Boone kind of angle, right? Some recent cases that we looked at. Or even if you look at or listen to Daryl Brooks, his interrogation, just all kinds of unnecessary details. When you know the people are guilty and you can listen to their stories, it's kind of hard to miss them. But then you can start picking it up on people when they're not necessarily convicted just yet.
Yeah, and I in my job as a union rep, I get this all the time with both clients and with opposing party. And when it comes to people I represent, I sometimes need to say, don't add anything, don't take anything away, just tell the story. That's it. That's all you need to do. The
Yep,
rest is up to me.
Yep, perfect. I mean, that's exactly the point. So, all right, and with that, we will leave you here. We will see you guys all on Saturday for the next Jodi Day, where we continue day 4. I believe we'll get through. We'll absolutely get through the rest of day 14, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right, everyone,
Okay.
have a good day. Take care. Bye.
Okay.
The State of
Bye-bye.
Arizona versus Jodi and Arias, verdict, count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder.